episode number 46 of Hitting for the Cycle. That's Ben Kruse. I'm Ryan Touhey. And Ben, how are you doing today?
Doing good. Really happy with how the Red Sox did overall on the road trip. They've had a really tough August to say the least. Playing a lot of really tough teams. And, I can get into it a little bit later, but, to take 2-4 from Baltimore in their place, including some roller coaster games, and with the way the bullpen's been pitching, I'll take that. And then to go 2-3 into Houston, a really tough place, especially with the team that's been owning us for pretty much, I don't know how long at this point. It's really awesome to see. And, they're not in the playoffs still right now, but just every single time that I feel like the season is coming to an end with them, they keep on bouncing back and fighting, compared to like the last couple of seasons where it's kind of the opposite. So that's good. I start my new job on Saturday, so not too shabby. How about you?
Doing fine. My team drives me crazy from time to time. They're inconsistent, but we're still in first place, so I can't really lose my mind too much. But there's still a lot of concerns that I have as we finish up August and go into the final month of the regular season and the playoffs. There are a lot of tight races all around the league and a lot of divisions, and it's going to be making for some exciting and stressful baseball. And we're going to be talking about some of that. But before we do, we want to remind everybody, of course, to follow Hitting for the Cycle on Facebook, X, and Instagram at HFTC ETB. Follow the Empty the Bench podcast network at ETB Network. Follow our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/ETB Network. And finally, listen to us on whatever platforms you listen to your podcasts on.
And you guys, this episode is you guys presented by Playback. Watching sports is more fun with others, but we spend too much of our time watching alone. Playback is a virtual space where communities can stream live sports together with everyone perfectly synced up. Creators can hop on stage, deliver their own play-by-play analysis and commentary, and invite viewers up for Q&A. Playback makes watching sports fully interactive and a social experience, from playing fantasy sports, repping your favorite players and teams, and watching with the commentators and communities you care about. Win or lose, sports are best enjoyed together. Join our community by going to playback.tv/HTB Network to find out more, including our live stream schedule. We do have a stream tomorrow night for the WNBA, which I will be on and some others will be on. And of course, we have our NFL show starting on September 7th. Before week 1 of the NFL season. So we got a lot of stuff coming up on Playback after a little bit of time off with the Olympic stuff being done and the NBA season being done.
All right, so we're going to get into it. So some pretty significant news broke yesterday. Joey Votto, the lifelong Cincinnati Red, with the exception of this year because he had signed a minor league deal with the Blue Jays for this season, but he'll never don a Blue Jays jersey or any other jersey for that matter because he officially announced his retirement from Major League Baseball. Votto played Major League Baseball for 17 years, dating back to 2007, and he was a lifelong Cincinnati Red, and he had an amazing, solid career. He was a 6-time All-Star. He was the 2010 National League's Most Valuable Player. He has a Hank Aaron Award and a Gold Glove Award to go along with his accolades. And he was a great first baseman as well, and just a well-respected presence around Major League Baseball. And the man could just flat out hit. I mean, he could put up some really big numbers, especially on offense. I mean, if you look at his stats, his batting averages in some seasons. I mean, he went from 297 in 2008, 322 in 09, 324 in 2010, his MVP year, 309 in 2011, and he played a lot too. He would play up to almost a full season of 162 games. 337 in 2012. That was only 111 games, but still very good. 2013, he played all 162 games, and he batted .305 and a .435 on base percentage too, which was outstanding. He also played a full season in 2017, 162 games there, where he batted .320 and a .454 on base percentage. He also batted .326 in 2016 and 158 games. So the guy was just a hitting machine. But surprisingly, his career hit total is kind of low for somebody who played as long as he did, and for somebody who hit for average as much as he did. He's got over 2,000 hits, but he's only got 2,135. So that was a little surprising to see. I thought he had a lot more than that. But yeah, Votto was the face of the Cincinnati Reds throughout his tenure, and he really led the Reds to some success. Obviously, the Reds returned to the postseason for the first time since their World Championship in 1990. In 2010, he obviously won the MVP award that year, like I mentioned, and he was the lone bright spot for a lot of bad Red teams throughout the years as well. He was the guy that Red fans came to the ballpark to see when there wasn't much to cheer about. But Votto always played with enthusiasm. He was always welcoming. He was always gracious to the fans. He loved the fans. The fans loved him back. Um, Unfortunately, his last professional major league game, he got ejected. So he didn't get to play the full 9 innings there. So that was kind of a, I guess, dubious way to go out, you can say. But yeah, I mean, Joey Votto, one of the best Cincinnati Reds of all time. I don't know if he cracks the Mount Rushmore of Cincinnati Reds. I think that primarily goes to guys like Pete Rose, Johnny Bench, Joe Morgan. I guess maybe you could throw Votto on there. Votto, in my opinion, is definitely among the top 10 greatest Cincinnati Reds of
Yeah.
all time, easily. But yeah, Joey Votto has called it a career after 17 seasons. So congratulations to Joey on an amazing career. I think he's got a chance to make the Hall of Fame. We'll see. I don't know if he'll make it on the first ballot necessarily, but I think over time eventually he'll get it. I think he'll get the call.
Yeah. Wow. I gotta say, what a career. I'm kind of surprised that he even tried to play this year. I thought that once that he was done in Cincinnati, that it was going to be it. But give him a lot of credit for him to try something new. And I thought that maybe he'd had a chance to go to play in Toronto, for the actual team, but he in his social media thing, he said he just didn't have any more left of good baseball in him. And sometimes that happens. When you're playing for that long, typically you're just not going to be the same type of player anyway. So, give him a lot of credit for what it's due. And, I think all in all, yeah, I agree with you, Ron. He's going to go down as one of the greatest Cincinnati Reds ever. I mean, I got the chance to see him play actually in Cincinnati. I have family in Cincinnati, so I got the chance to see him play in Cincinnati at a game. And I think I saw him hit a homer. I'm pretty sure. But regardless, the Reds fans love him. He's just like endearing to them, and I just think that he's just an absolute great overall talent. Part of me thinks he's a bit underrated too. I think a lot of people kind of they know the name, but like it's not a massively big market. So unless you're like just showing the massive stats like he did, most of the time your name's not going to get out there as much as compared to like the New Yorks or the Bostons or the Chicagos. Joey Votto did a really good job of being able to keep his name out there, and just a really good player, but not just a good overall player, a good overall person. I thought Joey Votto just seemed like he was a good overall person. I mean, we obviously don't know him from a hole in the wall, but I think all in all, it sounds like he did a lot for the Cincinnati community, and even in Toronto. I feel like he at least made a little bit of an impact when he got there, but he's going to retire as a Red. I think that's pretty much most of the time than not, your heart is where your home is, and that's where he was. So, I think that, and he also played too at the World Baseball Classic, I think, for Canada. So he shows a lot of representation for who he is, and what a career that he had. And always, because I'm a lefty hitter myself, I always try to like emulate a swing like Joey Votto. Just very consistent. Doesn't try to kill the ball. I mean, most of the time not. I mean, I felt like probably his entire career, he had a very good barrel rate. I mean, every single time that he was locked into the plate, he always had great overall mechanics, and he did a really good job of being able to stay through the ball most of the time than not. So, what a career that he had, and gonna go down as one of the greats.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned how he played for Team Canada in the World Baseball Classic. He's the first Canadian Major League Baseball player since Larry Walker to have 2,000 career hits, 300 career home runs, and 1,000 career runs batted in. So he really did it all, or almost. He did a lot, I should say. And his career summary, he finishes with 2,135 career hits. Like I said, I was a little surprised. I thought that was kind of low. I thought he would have a little more than that, but he was still a great player. 356 career home runs, 294 career batting average, 7,252 at bats, and a 64.5 career WAR. All in all, he had a great career, and he is definitely going to have his jersey number retired by the Reds in the near future. And he, no doubt in my mind, will be have a plaque in Cooperstown, New York, sometime down the road too, as well. So congratulations to Joey Votto on a very successful 17-year career, and he joins a rare club nowadays of playing your whole major league career with just one team. That gets rarer and rarer every year, and he is now among that list. I mean, obviously, like we mentioned, he signed the minor league deal with the Blue Jays, but he never laced it up for the Blue Jays on the playing field. And honestly, I felt like it would have been a little weird to see that after 17 years with one team. But
It's actually pretty cool that the last home run that Joey Votto hit was at the AAA part of the Red Sox. That's the last place that he hit the home run. He played with the Blue Jays AAA team. I think it's Dunedin. I'm pretty sure.
I believe, yeah, Dunedin, Florida.
Regardless of the fact, the Blue Jays, to him, it was. I think he was trying to go home back to Canada, kind of to make it kind of as like a finishing overall story. But like we said, Cincinnati is the place he's going to be retiring, and that's where his home was. So, I mean, he's pretty much at this point in time. He played a little bit there, but Cincinnati is the place.
Yeah. So yeah, Joey Votto calls it a career after 17 seasons. So congratulations to Joey Votto. And now we're going to move on to some news regarding the Oakland A's, soon to be just the A's, in a couple of months. So there was an article that came out from ESPN and the Associated Press last week saying how the stadium approval for the Athletics for Las Vegas is finally rounding into form. So this is coming from the Associated Press on an ESPN article. So Steve Hill, he's the president and the CEO of the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority. Basically, he's saying that he's optimistic that 3 key documents that are needed for the approval of the stadium are almost complete. Basically, Hill said that we're rounding third and heading for home. And Hill and his board were hopeful that the approvals would come at the December meeting. That 3 others were canceled. So the board's meeting, the next meeting that they're going to have is October 17th, and a meeting has been set aside for December 12th. So basically, they're just hoping for December that this is all going to be finished, and then there's not going to be any more question as to whether or not the A's will finally have a stadium in Las Vegas, because there's still a lot of speculation as to whether or not the A's can even afford a stadium in Las Vegas. And the whole thing has just been a disaster ever since John Fisher announced that the team is going to be moving to Vegas. The whole thing has just been convoluting. Nobody knows exactly what's going on. And there's just been so many question marks. Fisher has basically been just trying to force this and shove this down everybody's throats, and it's just been a mess. So, everyone's wondering, what the hell is going on here. Obviously, the A's lease agreement is done with the Coliseum after this season. They're planning on playing in Sacramento for the next 3 seasons before finally moving to Vegas in 2028. And like I said, that's what they're hoping for. But just because that this news broke and that this guy is optimistic about the stadium being approved, don't think that this is a sure thing just yet. All right, this is the A's we're talking about, and this is John Fisher who we're talking about. I'll believe it when I see it. I won't believe the A's will be in Las Vegas until I see them in Las Vegas. That's basically what it boils down to for me. I mean, this whole thing has just been a convoluted disaster. And I still feel bad for A's fans. The A's a couple of days ago played the last Battle of the Bay series with the Giants, and it was kind of depressing to see, how the fans, how everybody was gathered together in the ballpark. But going back throughout all the memories between the Giants and the A's, obviously you had the Battle of the Bay series throughout the years, especially in the 1989 World Series, the Earthquake series, as we all know. And knowing that it's not going to be the same moving forward, it's sad. There's really no other way to say it.
Did you see what happened, by the way, with that series with Matt Chapman?
I did not see what happened. Did he get
So,
an ovation?
to the last game of the series, he was eligible to take one of the bases home with him because
I,
that's how much it meant to the overall the area. So I thought that was pretty neat.
that is. I mean, Chapman did a lot for the A's, and like I said, well, I don't know if I said it, but you know, the A's have developed great players over the years. It's just a shame that none that the group of players that they brought up just were never able to make it far in the playoffs. And,
Yeah.
you know, it's just it gets every time I read something pertaining to the A's in Vegas, my heart sinks a little bit more for the A's fans. It really does. So the three documents that need to be approved for the stadium, which is $1.5 billion and 33. This is what it's projected to be. It's projected to be costing 1.5 billion, $1.5 billion, and 33,000 people in a domed stadium on the Las Vegas Strip. And the agreement provides an initial 30-year lease, and that can be extended for almost up to a century, 99 years. And yeah, it's a lot to ask for. And like I said, it's the A's. It's one of the most poorly run organizations in all of baseball. So we'll see. We'll see. That's basically where I'm standing on this.
Yeah, this is news to me, so I'm just trying to kind of take into what you were mentioning. Yeah, this obviously, and we pretty much know that the A's are on their way. We hope. I mean, partly hope and partly not, because I think for A's fans and for a lot of people, it would be kind of tough to see them leave after what's been going on with them. But yeah, I mean, the Las Vegas specifically, they never had a pro baseball team, so it might be something new to them. It's obviously would be in a city that has a ton of tourism and stuff like that. And I think all in all, I mentioned to you, I agree with you. I will believe it until I see it, because the A's, with the way that they're running and stuff like that, I don't know in terms of how it's going to be working out. I wouldn't be shocked if even this overall approval could get delayed by a little bit, maybe by even next year. If they have it by December 5th, wouldn't be shocked if it's more like January, February. So I don't know. We don't know. Every single time I hear a hopeful type of thing too, it's just an overall estimation. They have no idea at the end of the day. And I think for the A's fans specifically, and one of my A's fans that I'm actually on my other pod with, who worked at the A's stadium, funny enough, they don't want to move. And there's been a lot of back and forth type of stuff, by the way, Ryan. I don't know if you've been seeing with, the owner for the A's, and, people have been running the Coliseum of like, oh, like, looks like we're going to go and be on the move. And then they'd be like, oh, no, looks like we can maybe kind of work some stuff out. We don't know. We really don't know what's going on. I think there's a much more to this story that we don't know about, honestly, that's kind of keep it under wraps. So, but yeah, in terms of this overall, December 5th, I mean, that's at least, 3-4 months away. So, if they can get it done, they can get it done. I just don't know if that's actually going to be an actual reality.
Yes. So, I mean, I don't know if really there's anything else we can add on here. Like I said, the whole thing has just been poorly run, and like I said, you just feel for A's fans. And I mean, I'm just not looking forward to seeing a professional baseball team play 3 seasons in a minor league ballpark with no city connected to its name. It's horrible. I hate it. It's absolutely, and
it's like the Blue Jays playing at their spring training ballpark.
That was horrible. That was so bad.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, no. Well, actually, they split time between Dunedin and Buffalo.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I was actually drove past the Dunedin ballpark, and legitimately you wouldn't think there's a ballpark there. They're just like neighborhoods like around it, and it's just like, wow, there's a ballpark right there. So yeah, that was kind of interesting to say the least.
So it doesn't look right. It really doesn't. Plus, I feel that baseballs tend to fly out of those stadiums more than the major league stadiums do as well. And I think we touched on this briefly in an episode a couple of weeks ago, where they were talking about the downsides of playing in Sacramento, especially during the summer in the day, where temperatures can reach the high 90s on a
Mhm.
daily basis. I just feel like this is going to be a disaster, or this is going to just be. I feel like there's just going to be a lot of high scoring baseball games happening at that stadium. I just feel like the ball's going to fly out of there, and
Mhm.
it's going to just look really, really awkward. I mean, granted, it's already awkward looking with the attendance at the Coliseum the way it already is. I mean, there are more people who attend Little League games than Oakland A's games, unfortunately. And I mean, even with them moving into a smaller facility, I can only imagine the crowds are still going to be embarrassing.
Because people from the A's fans are going to be upset that they're moving.
Yeah.
So why would they decide to go somewhere else, to another city, where they essentially want to sell the team? That's essentially what they want. They want to have them sell the team. That's the last thing they want to have to do is, especially with the people that have been working there too. Like, they've been putting all their hard work in, and they're just like, oh yeah, by the way, we're moving to a minor league park, where we're trying to get more fans coming in. We're not trying to get more fans leaving. So,
Mhm. Yeah, and I don't know how Sacramento necessarily feels. I mean, I'm sure people in Sacramento are, excited to have some baseball come to them for a couple of seasons, but I mean, it's only for 3 years. And, I don't really know if they care necessarily because I mean, their minor league affiliates are San Francisco's River Cats, Sacramento River Cats.
mhm.
So, I tend to think that there are more Giants fans in Sacramento than A's fans. So,
Probably.
I don't know. I really don't know. Regardless, it's not something that I know I'm looking forward to, and I know it's something that A's fans are not looking forward to either. And yeah, the end of the A's in Oakland just gets sadder and sadder. And once they play their final game at the Coliseum, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be a tough pill to swallow. And
I should just fly out before the end of the season to Oakland
I've always wondered. I've debated
just to
that
say I
choice,
did it.
honestly, because I always baseball fans love to travel around the country and go to every single ballpark they can. We got 1 month left of the Oakland Coliseum. Granted, the
Yeah.
Coliseum is at the bottom of everybody's bucket list of stadiums they want to see in their lifetime. So
Mhm.
I thought like maybe should I go out there? I don't know.
Mhm.
It never really interested me, to be honest.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll leave it at that. So now we'll move on to the worst team in all of baseball, the Chicago White Sox, and they've made some unfortunate history as well when they were officially eliminated from playoff contention after a loss to the Houston Astros on August 17th. And that is the record for the earliest postseason elimination in the wild card / divisional eras. And that's saying something, let me tell
Mm.
you. And that surpasses the previous two records, which were actually not too old to begin with. We're talking about the wild card divisional era. The third earliest elimination was the 2003 Tigers, who won 43 and 119. They seemed like a sure thing to break the 62 Mets record, but they ended that season, I believe, on a 5-game winning streak, which spared them
Mm.
that unfortunate distinction. And then the second earliest elimination wasn't too long ago, just 6 years ago. The Baltimore Orioles were eliminated on August 20th of 2018. That Orioles team, as we all remember, won 47 and 115, and that was rock bottom for that team. And they could only go up from there, and they have, obviously. And this is just the cherry on top. Well, actually, no, I don't know if this is the cherry, but you're getting closer and closer to finishing the top layer of this horrendous cake of horrible baseball that the White Sox have been playing all year long. Um, the White Sox right now are sitting at 31 and 97, dead last, obviously, in the American League Central and all of Major League Baseball. The fact that they're probably going to lose 100 games before the end of August is, unfathomable. That doesn't happen that often in Major League Baseball history, but it has a few times. But they're probably going to surpass that mark. And they're still on pace to lose around 120 games. They have won a few games, over the past week. Like I mentioned, I mean, They mercifully ended that 21 game losing streak in Oakland a couple weeks ago, and they did blow out the Yankees one game, and they did actually take a game against the Astros in Houston, and they did take the series finale against the Giants. So they've won 4 more games ever since they lost 21 in a row. But it's just been a disaster for the White Sox. And, Grady Sizemore now, obviously, just being the interim manager. He's just, in my opinion, Sizemore just have fun at this point. Just to learn. There's no pressure here. No one's expecting anything. Just try and get the players to, have the players show some pride on the field, I think, more than anything else. But White Sox fans cannot wait for the season to end, and I don't blame them. I think everybody just wants the season to end for them, honestly. It's sad to see them.
They probably wanted to be over at the end of the month, the first month.
They want it to be over They want it to be over today. I can't imagine they want to keep they're probably looking at the calendar thinking to themselves, oh my God, we got another month of this. And they are, it's horrible.
Yeah, it's hard to laugh, honestly. I couldn't even be like. There's some teams that are like not great, but like they're just on the next level. And the problem is too with them is they don't really have much of a future ahead. Like there's not a ton of great overall prospects, at least that I see in their system, that's going to really do much. So it's like not only that their team has been awful, Ryan, but there's just nothing that they can like hold on to. Like there's no type of like big type of prospect or anything that you could be like, oh, maybe I can kind of watch in September. Like the Red Sox last couple of seasons, they've been in last place, and I've been kind of in the same boat after August. I'm like, all right, just get me over with the season. But then I look at September, and it's like, all right, well, these games obviously don't mean for the postseason, but I can at least look at some guys, Ceddanne Rafaela, for instance, last year. Guys like that, like the White Sox just don't have a ton of that stuff either. So like it just adds on more to the misery that they've already had for this year too.
Yeah, I don't know if it's unfortunate, but I've just been fascinated by how bad they are. When a team is this bad, you almost have to, do some research and dissect, just how bad they truly are. And they're basically the worst at basically everything. And, there's really not much hope for the White Sox in the near future. And I don't know how legitimate it is. It might be to an extent, but, there were rumors swirling around that, obviously with the A's moving, the White Sox should maybe consider relocation. I don't know if that'll happen necessarily, at least not anytime soon, I think. But yeah, I mean, there's just really nothing positive going on at all when it comes to baseball in Chicago, because the White Sox obviously are historically bad, and the Cubs are not good at all either. And sports in Chicago have just struggled for a long time. Besides 2016, it's just been it's been tough, and
it sucks.
It really does, especially when it's a big market in a city like that. A city like that would struggle so much putting together contending teams on a yearly basis. But baseball's never been kind to the city of Chicago. And it just gets worse and worse, and the dark cloud just continues to hover over the White Sox franchise. And we'll see what their final record is in just a few weeks, and we may need to shield our eyes because it might be horrifying.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, Halloween's gonna be coming up a couple months. So there might be a horror story with that team already.
Yeah. So yeah. The White Sox unfortunately make history. Their 2024 season is officially over. Granted, it was over before it even began, pretty much. So, yep, but now it's official. So now we'll move on. So a little more history was made. Elly De La Cruz. I mean, obviously, we talked about the past of Cincinnati Reds baseball with Joey Votto. Now we're talking about the present and the future with Elly De La Cruz. He made history. He became the 5th player in Major League Baseball history to record 20 home runs and 60 stolen bases in a season. De La Cruz is a lightning rod for that Cincinnati Reds team. That organization revolves around him at this point, and he's going to be the catalyst for the future of that franchise. So the torch is basically being passed on from Joey Votto to Elly De La Cruz. And, he literally has run with that torch, literally. 60 stolen bases on the season. He accomplished this feat last night during the game against the Toronto Blue Jays. And De La Cruz is just an exciting overall talent. I mean, what else can you say? He's got power. He's got speed. Defense could use a little work, but he's still very young. And Yeah, I mean, what else can you say about Elly De La Cruz? He's an enjoyment to watch.
Yeah, he's just a talent. I remember last year when he got called up. I mean, it was obviously a big thing in baseball. His second half wasn't great per se, but it was his first year, so he is obviously a lot of pitchers were starting to learn about him, starting to get used to him. But give him credit for this second year. He's really bounced back. I think he had a kind of a little bit of a tough start this year, but all in all, he's played really, really well. He has a really good arm, Ryan. Despite his defense being kind of lackluster, his arm is awesome to watch. But another thing too about Ellie, outside of his stolen base, is he's a switch hitter, and he does really, really well most of the time from the left side, from the right side. So you just don't see a lot of guys that are, have the homer power, the stolen base power, but then the switch hitting proposition as well too. So it just adds more of a versatility of like he can play in the field every single day. He could be in the lineup every single day, but he's also just doing stuff. And this is kind of a team that has a lot, they have a lot of work to do. But like we were just talking about the White Sox, in the previous segment, you're looking at a team like the Reds, which is a low market type team. They obviously aren't probably going to be a playoff team, but you can hold on to something. And this is something for sure they can hold on to is they have a future star, and that's Elly De La Cruz. So once they can start getting a lot more pieces around, I mean, the Reds could be a really fun team down the road to watch. And like you said, we just talked about Votto, kind of what he made a mark on the Cincinnati type of city. And now you look at this future. That's the great part of sports is most of the times than not, you can hopefully have somebody that can pass a torch, and like you mentioned, and this is the guy I think that can start to really blossom because the thing is he's still super young. So he could definitely there's still a lot of stuff that he could work on, which is scary because if he's doing the stuff that he's doing now at this point in time, in the next 3-4 years, this guy could be one of the if not one of the best, guys in baseball, up with the Bryce Harpers of the world, with Ronald Acuña's of the world, right? So he even what he's doing it now, he could get even better, and that's a scary thing.
Yeah, I mean, De La Cruz is only 22 years old, and he's built like a bull, basically. I mean, he's 6'5", 200 pounds. I mean, the guy's a machine out there on the field. And I mean, he has very good numbers this year. I mean, he's hitting 262. He's got 125 hits this year. He's got 28 doubles and 8 triples. And obviously, he uses that speed of his to his advantage. And yeah, I can only see De La Cruz going up from here. If he continues to, play well. I have no doubt in my mind he has the potential to really blossom into a star. I could see him, doing what Acuna did last year. I could see him being a 40-70 guy. I wouldn't be surprised if he does that relatively sooner rather than later. But yeah, I mean, the only things like we mentioned that he might need to work that he needs to work on a little bit are his defense. He's got to clean up a little bit with the errors, and he does strike out a lot. He strikes out. He's already got 167 strikeouts. I know a lot of guys strike out, but he's a free swinger. So, but he does hit some pretty good some weird pitches that not a lot of other guys would hit. He's a pretty good bad ball hitter. But yeah, 60 stolen bases and only 12 caught stealings. So that's really freaking solid. 60 for 72. So yeah, congratulations to Elly De La Cruz, and he is now the face of the Cincinnati Reds. So we'll see where he leads that franchise down the road. So now we're going to move on to kind of some weird news. But a couple of days ago, Staten Island Little League coach. Obviously, the Little League World Series has been going on for about a month now. It ends this upcoming weekend, I believe. I think it concludes on Saturday or Sunday, if I'm not mistaken. But obviously, the Yankees played in the Little League Classic on Sunday Night Baseball this past Sunday against the Detroit Tigers. And, the Little League Classic is pretty cool. The major leaguers get to interact with the Little Leaguers. It's great. It's really nice. It's, making the kids happy, making their day, getting to meet their idols. That's really what it boils down to. And that's what Major League Baseball tries to promote more than anything else when it comes to the Little League Classic. So it's a great way for kids to interact with the players and get to meet their idols, like I said, so on and so forth. But the Staten Island Little League, which was the only team from New York that won a game in the Little League World Series. They are managed by Bob Laterza. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Laterza, Laterza. He's the manager of South Shore Little League, the South Shore Little League team in Staten Island, and that represented the metro region in the Little League World Series. He was not happy about the fact that his team did not get to meet Aaron Judge, and he had some pretty strong words for Judge. Well, I don't know about strong, but he had some harsh words for Judge. He criticized Judge for not meeting up with the team after the game, and he also was mad at Judge for not acknowledging the players while he was on deck in the on-deck circle. The players were sitting right behind him in the stands. Laterza took issue with Judge not meeting the team and not acknowledging them, and the team had about 25 seats behind Judge on the on-deck circle. Laterza said, "How about turning around or wave to New York and the kids that think you're a hero? They're the ones who pay your salary." They were disappointed. Maybe he'll want to make up for it and come see them. So, the Yankees, responded, saying that, defending Aaron Judge, obviously, and rightfully so. Judge is, one of the classiest guys in baseball. He's a great ambassador for the game, and he, promotes the game very well. And, the Yankees did invite the Little League team to come to Yankee Stadium and, Aaron Judge eventually. So, in my opinion, this whole thing, it's unnecessary in my opinion. Judge can only do so much. He's not going to, obviously when you have as big of a profile as Aaron Judge did, I understand Aaron Judge is one of the most popular players in baseball. I understand that. So naturally people are going to want him for a lot of things, but he can only do so much. So basically what I boil down to is, this guy is just getting a little too greedy, and he's got a big sense of self-entitlement, basically thinking that he deserves this, and his, team deserves this because, they were the only team from the New York metro area to be representing that area in the Little League World Series. So, but, lay off, man. I mean, he's Aaron Judge. He's one of the best players in all of Major League Baseball, if not the best player in Major League Baseball. You're a Little League coach. I understand you took your kids to the Little League World Series. Congratulations. But you're down here and he's up there. So take it easy. All right. Judge didn't bash the coach or anything. He said, "I'm just not going to respond to something like that because it's really not worth my time." And it's not. It really isn't worth his time. He's got other things that he should worry about. He shouldn't worry about what some Little League coach from Staten Island thinks about him. So the whole thing was ridiculous, if you ask me.
Yeah, I saw this article yesterday, actually on social media, and yeah, I think all in all that a lot of the Little League teams every single year will go to Yankee Stadium or Citi Field if they're represented anyway. So it's almost like you just want to extra stuff, just being there. And it's just one, at least if I was in his shoes, be grateful that your team is playing there, right? Not every single team from a specific region will play at the Little League World Series. It should be an overall privilege to be there. And then two, yes, it's great that they can come down and they can meet a lot of the kids and stuff like that, but they're also there to have jobs, and that is to play in the game, right? So that's their overall job, is to play there, and then the kids can overall watch and, support the guys and stuff like that. I think all in all, he could have definitely made this a lot less necessary as it could be. Maybe he could have been after a game or before a game, be like, "Hey, maybe you could try to think of something out." But it's almost like he forced it. He was almost just like, "All right, why didn't you not come see, me and the team, this and that?" Come on. You're there, you're at the League World Series, enjoy it. Not a lot of people can say they are because, most of the time, you have to earn to get there. And then you get to pretty much tell everybody that, you got to see some of the best players that are playing the game right now. And the last thing you want to do is ruin the whole entire vibe. And that's part of me. That's what it kind of felt like, is they kind of ruin the whole entire thing. And it's just when they come to Yankee Stadium, it's almost like the fans are going to be like, all right, cool. It's like a round of applause, but then they remember what happened in Williamsport. So it's like, it just kind of gives me kind of a crappy vibe. And as much as Aaron Judge to me, I want to say he was in the wrong of, not acknowledging them, but he did the right thing and be like, hey, I'm there to do it, play a game and to do my job. I can do this another time. This is something I don't have to do during a game where we're trying to win. So, I just felt like the coaching for that team was making it a massive deal, which it honestly shouldn't have been.
That's really what that's what annoyed the Yankees more than anything else, is the fact that he went through the press to air his grievances rather than not, try and just contact them, via email or a phone call or something like that instead. He basically just blew this up to unnecessary proportions. And he also, told the press that, if we get the chance, if they do end up going to Yankee Stadium to meet Aaron Judge, then maybe they'll just give off the same vibe that he gave them in Williamsport. Maybe, in other words, like ignore him, which would be completely stupid. But there was the whole thing was just unnecessary. And they did get to meet some Yankee players. They got to meet Aaron Boone. They also met, I believe, they met Garrett Cole, DJ LeMahieu, among a few others as well. But
so then why were they,
I understand Judge is more popular than those guys. I understand that. But you knew Judge was going to be surrounded by swarms of people, at the Classic. That was just going to happen. As soon as he got off that plane, as soon as the Yankees got off that plane, I mean, it was like bugs to a light on a summer night, basically, swarming all over him. People want to talk to him. People want to get their picture of him. They want his autograph. They want him to do everything. And Judge, and like I said, Judge can only do so much. He's not going to be able to satisfy everybody. So, it was not personal. Like that.
It's like Taylor Swift, all of a sudden with all of her fans going up to her, can I have this? Can I have that? Can I have that? It's like, come on, they're humans at the end of the day. It's not going to work out for him.
Yes, the guy took it way too personally. He's taking it. He's making it out to be that Judge deliberately went out of his way to disrespect the Little League team, which he absolutely did not do. That's basically what this coach was doing. He was trying to make it a personal thing, I think he just wanted some attention. I think that's really what he wanted to.
Probably.
That's probably what he wanted more than anything else at the end of the day. But for the kids' sake, I hope they do it. I hope they do accept the invitation. I think it would be great for the kids to meet Aaron Judge. I sure as hell know that Judge wouldn't have a problem with meeting the kids. I think
it'd be hilarious if the kids were there, but not the coach.
Well, I don't know if the coach and Judge are going to be taking a picture together anytime soon. But at this point, the coach doesn't deserve to be, within 5 feet of Aaron Judge. So, this whole thing was ridiculous. It was absolutely stupid. But there's really what else can you do? You're not gonna be able to satisfy everybody, like I mentioned. So Judge has got more important things to worry about. He's trying to lead his team to a world title. Don't dwell on what some Little League coach from Staten Island thinks about you. But congratulations to the kids from Staten Island, by the way. I have basically my whole family's from Staten Island, so good for them. But so that was nice to see. And now we have some injury news. Time to put your gloves on and put your masks on because we have to do some unfortunate injury news. And remember a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about how bad of luck the Atlanta Braves have had with injuries this year? Yep. I mean, dear God. Austin Riley now is out with a fractured hand. He got hit with a pitch on his hand, and now he's going to be out 6 to 8 weeks. Acuna down, Albies down, Strider down, Riley down. Who else is going to go down?
Add to the list.
What's the mascot's name for the Braves? What's that mascot's
name? Is it a Blooper?
Blooper. Is Blooper going to go down next?
I wouldn't be shocked. Yeah, Blooper. That's the mascot.
Yes, that Blooper is gonna fall. Blooper is gonna be dancing on a dugout when Matt Olson goes down with an injury. Blooper is gonna just fall into the dugouts. Hopefully, Matt Olson does not go down with an injury. I was just saying that because the amount of injuries that the Braves have had this year are just amazing. You almost expect somebody else to go down again within a couple of days. But hopefully, to God that doesn't happen. But yeah, no team has been hit with injuries as much as the Braves have this year, it's absolutely astonishing. And unfortunately, it's hurt them. They just have fallen well behind the Phillies in the National League East. Their run of consecutive National League East division titles is going to come to an end this year. And yeah, it's just you feel bad for the Braves almost at this point.
Mhm.
And
Yeah. And
it's
it's not just, I mean, it sucks with the injuries all in all, regardless of who it is, but it's the type of players that are getting hurt. It's
yeah,
like their main guys. I mean, Riley is an absolute stud at third base. He's one of the best hitters in the game. Strider's one of the best pitchers in the game. Ronald Acuna Jr., of course, we don't have to explain just how incredible this guy is. I mean, this guy is a top 5 player probably in baseball, at least outfield wise. And you can make an argument for top 5 in general, but and then Albies. I mean, that's like between Riley, Albies, and Acuna. Those are pretty much out of your top 5 in your lineup. That's 3/5 of your lineup. So it's ridiculous.
yeah. So Austin Riley's down, and like I said, 6 to 8 weeks. So he's not coming back for the rest of the regular season. And depending on how far the Braves are able to go, if they qualify for the postseason, because they're in a dogfight for a wild card spot. So the Brave season is in major jeopardy right now, if you ask me. And they really they couldn't afford to lose another significant bat, and Riley and Olsen were the significant bats in that lineup. And now it's just Matt Olson at this point, and I guess Marcell Ozuna. But
Yeah, he's been good.
yeah, I mean, that's just a massive, massive blow to the Braves. Did not need that, and the fact that it occurred because he got hit by a pitch makes it even worse. Because I would be so mad if that was the way that somebody. I mean, that happened to Aaron Judge. In 2018, he got hit on the hand with a pitch, and he missed most of the rest of the season. Back in September, but losing him definitely hurt the Yankees because they were still in the fight with the Red Sox for the division title. But once he went down, that definitely just did not help the Yankees in that case. So Riley's down. Zach Eflin, who was a midseason acquisition for the Orioles, he's going on the injured list. He's got right shoulder inflammation. Ketel Marte, who's been raking it up for the Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks have been one of the 2 hottest teams in baseball, obviously, since the All-Star break. Although they did get swept by the Rays over the weekend, so that wasn't pretty. But then I think they took 2 out of 3 in Miami. So at least the series, but they've slow. They've slowed down a little bit from their pace
because they're facing this weekend.
You face them. Oh, the Red Sox facing this weekend.
Yep. So
have fun. But Marte is probably he wouldn't. I don't think he would win the MVP, but he was probably going to be a top 5 MVP candidate. So that's a massive blow for the Diamondbacks. Marte was having a great year, and I think he was on the injured list earlier this year. I could be wrong, but I think he did.
He has his injury problems, I know, in the past.
Yeah, so he's had injury problems, and this is another one. Hunter Green from the Reds, he's going on a 15-day IL with right elbow soreness. So another pitcher dealing with another injury. I'd say in total, probably there's got to be like 100 something pitcher injuries this year around the league.
And this is the reason why too, right? I remember last week we talked about the pitchers, the rule going to potentially 6 innings. There's something that's going to happen still with a lot of these pitchers is if you go to 6 innings, they're going to try to blow out their arms because they're trying to go specifically to an innings limit or the pitch clock. I mean, the pitch clock or that. And there's no winning specifically in this situation because we're just seeing that right here with proof.
Yep, absolutely. And so, I mean, it just continues to happen. And, another significant arm, Tyler Glasnow of the Dodgers, he's on the 15-day IL with elbow tendonitis. But Glasnow has always had injury problems.
Yeah.
He can't stay healthy to save his life.
Mm-hmm.
And
the Dodgers are like their injury list of pitchers.
Their whole rotation has had injuries this year. I don't think one starting pitcher has made it. I don't know if one starting pitcher in their rotation has made it up to this point in the season without having to be shut down for a little bit. I really don't know. Yamamoto's been hurt. Kershaw just came back.
River Ryan's out for the year.
Yep.
So
and Walker Buehler. Yep. I think, yeah. So yeah.
That's wild. Bobby Miller? Did Bobby Miller get hurt too?
Bobby Miller got hurt too. Bobby Miller, I think, had to go under the knife, if I'm not mistaken. So, I mean, the Dodgers injuries have just been as significant as well, maybe not as significant, but they've probably been a close
They're out there.
third behind the Braves in terms of the amount of injuries that they've had. So, losing Glasnow definitely doesn't help them out. Um, Justin Verlander returned from his IL stint. Verlander has dealt with injuries this year. I think just the wear and tear of his body and the fact that he's in his 40s at this point. I don't know if he's going to be able to pitch a full season anymore without having to be shut down at least once. But he returned yesterday against your Red Sox. I mean, he did pretty good for the most
That's all
part.
right.
He was all right. I
Yeah.
don't know. I really don't think you could ask for more from him. I mean, it was his first start back. But knowing Verlander, I know he's definitely going to push himself down the stretch and he'll get himself into postseason form. There was some injury news pertaining to the Yankees, of course, because why not? Jazz Chisholm, obviously. This was actually decent news. Chisholm is actually not going to need surgery on his
That was good.
CL, so
Mhm.
he's spared from that. And he said he could probably even come. I mean, right now he's on a 10-day IL, and he said he could actually come. He could play right as soon as it's up. But the Yankees are not going to do that by any stretch of the imagination. They're going to take it cautiously, and then they'll bring him back when they feel that he's ready to come back. That's good to hear because Jazz obviously provided some spark in that clubhouse. And then there was the bizarre news pertaining to Alex Verdugo. I don't know if we talked about this last week or something like that, where he apparently was allergic to his batting gloves and his tattoo sleeves. Did you see that? Did you see that?
I maybe heard about it, but I don't know. This is news to me.
I don't think. Oh, yeah, you may have heard about it. Well, there was a news article that came out just a couple of days ago that Alex Verdugo apparently was allergic to his batting gloves, and they were causing him to have blisters on his hands and dry skin. And apparently, he also had tattoo allergies as well. I don't know if that's the case necessarily. I think he's just allergic to hitting a baseball right now because, oh my God, does he suck.
I was going to say, is that
He's
the
down to
reason why his
229. He's down to 229. He couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat right now. And I've been starting to call him for dog crap.
All right. Didn't I warn you at the beginning of the year?
I don't get me wrong. I knew that Verdugo carried a little bit of baggage with him.
Right.
And I was not expecting him to tear the cover off the ball like Juan Soto and become, an elite all around phenomenal outfielder. But I was surely not expecting this.
I wasn't expecting this either.
This is ridiculous. This is so bad. He's never looked this bad in his career until now. Like this is ridiculous. I'm so disgusted. And he's not really doing himself any favors too, because this is a contract year for him. So if he's looking for a big payday, I don't know if he's going to get it if he continues to play like this.
Yeah, he's going to the Andrew Benintendi arc with when the Red Sox, he went to the Yankees. Benintendi was okay in the second half, but then you look at him with the White Sox, he has one of the worst WRC pluses out there. Like every metric with betting right now is awful.
That warms my heart though, honestly, because he comes to the Yankees. And I know he didn't intentionally mean to get himself hurt, but like he comes to the Yankees, and of course you have to go down with an injury, and then you look for a nice big payday. You expect a big payday, and you take it from Reinsdorf, who gives him the biggest contract in White Sox history practically, and now you're sitting with the worst team in baseball history, basically at this point. So that warms my heart knowing that justice was served a little bit in that way, But yeah, Verdugo is just horrible to watch right now. Him and DJ have been suffocating the life out of the Yankees.
Ben Rice too. He's really come down. I don't know what's going on.
I'm not going to get on Ben Rice too much because he's barely.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get on Ben Rice as much as I would get. And even with DJ, I mean, I didn't expect too much from DJ. I surely didn't expect him to be this bad, obviously. But Verdugo bothers me more than anybody else right now because he's 28 years old. He's in his prime, and this is what you're doing with it. I mean, come on. What are you doing? So, yeah, those are some injury news going around Major League Baseball. And I guess with that, I can quickly go around the league and just talk about where teams are. as of the day of this recording, which is August 22nd, 2024. In the American League East, the Yankees have a half-game lead over the Orioles. The Yankees are 74-53. The Orioles are 74-54. Both teams are basically just going back and forth for first place in this division. It's flip-flop every single day. Nobody wants to pull away in this division. The Red Sox are in third at 67-59, 6.5 games back. The Rays are over 500 at 64-62, and the Blue Jays are dead at 59-68. In the American League Central, the Guardians 2.5 game lead. It's a tight race in the American League Central. The Guardians have a 73-53 record. The Royals and the Twins are both tied for second at 71-56. The Tigers are in third at 62-65, and then of course the White Sox are in last at 31-97. Wow. American League West, the Astros are in first, 10 games over 500, 68-58. The Mariners have completely collapsed. They are at 500 at 64-64.
Oh my goodness.
They are infuriating. They are so infuriating. They can't hit to save their life. They really can't. The Rangers are in third place, 59-69. I think it's safe to say they will not be repeating the World Series champions. The Angels and the A's are tied for last in the American League West, 54-73. At this point, I'm hoping the A's get finish in third in the American League West. I want them to finish above the Angels and the Rangers. That would be a little bit of a positive note for the A's. A little. Just give me something to cheer about.
I mean, Ryan, the A's are only 5 games back of the Rangers and the Wings. Yep. So I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's what I said. I want them to finish ahead of both the Angels and the Rangers. I would love that, and I think a lot of baseball would too. In the National League East, the Phillies very comfortable lead in the National League East, 74-52, 7 games ahead. That's the best record right now in baseball. The Braves are in second at 67-59. Right behind them, though, are the Mets at 66-61. The Mets are desperately trying to stay in that wild card hunt. The Mets, they'll get cold, but then they'll get hot again. The Mets are very bipolar this year, like a lot of teams. The Nationals are in fourth at 57-70, and the Marlins, of course, are in last at 46-81. In the National League Central, the Brewers, the most commanding lead of any division leader, 73-53, 11 games ahead of second place St. Louis, who are under 500 at 62-64. The rest of the National League Central after the Brewers is absolute garbage. The Cubs and the Reds are tied for third place at 62-65, and the Pirates are in last at 59-67. The Pirates had a horrible losing streak just a couple of weeks ago. And, the Pirates are also not going to shut down Paul Skeens, and honestly, why not? Just like. And finally, in the National League West, the Dodgers are at 76-52. They've been playing better recently. The Diamondbacks and the Padres, though, they're neck and neck. They're tied for second at 72-56. The Giants are in third at 65-64, and the Rockies are in last at 47-80. So a lot of tight races going on around the league. I mentioned it, last week or 2 weeks ago that this is going to make for some exciting baseball. I'm really looking forward to seeing how these races play out as we get into the final month of the regular season. It's really going to be good. It's good to see a lot of teams. I'm glad, like I said, there's not one clear-cut favorite to win the World Series this year. I think it just makes a more enticing and more engaging sport when everybody's like on the same level and just trying to fight for that title. So yeah, that's where the standings stand today of August 22nd, 2024. Ben, I don't know if you want to talk about your Red Sox or anything else briefly before we wrap it up.
Yeah, so I did mention beginning of our show about the Red Sox. They had to go on the road for 7 games, 4 in Baltimore, 3 in Houston, and the starting pitching, right outside of the gate of the All-Star break really was a struggle. Tanner Houck, Brian Bayo, Cutter, all the guys are really struggling, but they're starting to pitch a lot better, and Andrew Bailey is finally taking out of the uses of the off speed a lot more with these guys, thankfully. The bullpen has been a massive letdown recently, but they're hopefully getting some guys back. They They had a really tough one the first game, but they came back in that second game, Ryan. I don't know if you saw it, the Red Sox-Orioles game, but nobody seemed like they wanted to win that game. It was a 12-10 final, 13-10, something like that. I mean, every single time when the Red Sox would have a lead or whatever, Orioles come right back, and I'm just like, you gotta be like. And then the second game it was in a delay. Red Sox had a really good outing from Brian Bayo, probably his best outing of the year. And then the last game, Cutter had a pretty good one, but the bats were cold. And then the Houston series, Yonder Diaz. I would be fine if Yonder Diaz would never play the Red Sox ever again. I mean, the guy's an absolute machine. Outside of Yordan Alvarez, walk-off homer in the first game. Second game, we were holding it for dear life. Thankfully, Kenley shut it down. Kenley boys up, never down. And then the game yesterday, Cooper Criswell outpitched Justin Verlander. Who would have thought? Red Sox won 4-1. And now they play the Diamondbacks, and they have the Blue Jays back at home. So hopefully they can take up some ground. And with the Yankees, Ryan, they're still kind of hanging around with the Orioles. Really quickly, too, before we wrap it up, the Astros have a massive weekend series against the Orioles this weekend in Baltimore. The Mets are in San Diego to take on the Padres, the massive series as well. And the Phillies are taking on the Braves, another massive series as well.
Yeah, a lot of big series for a lot of teams, and a lot of teams are starving for some wins. So this weekend could make or break a lot of teams' seasons, and we'll see who comes out on top and who does not. And that's going to do it for this episode of Hitting for the Cycle. Thank you for everybody for tuning in this week. Ben, I know that you're not going to be on next week, right?
Maybe the next two, because I'm starting my new job, so. You have to hold on the fork a little bit here, Ryan.
Ben will not be with us for the next 2 weeks. So we'll see what happens, with these next 2 weeks, and we'll see how they play out. But thank you very much for tuning in. On behalf of Ben Kruse, I'm Ryan Touhey. We'll see you next time.